I've sailed through storms, fogs thick as tar. But this isn't weather. The air, it cuts. Like every breath is made of knives. I called it a load of tosh. Said we'd be fine. But I've never heard a sound like that. And for the first time, I'm afraid.
Good morning, and welcome back to Saltmere. When I was messing around with the shader packs, I asked myself, how blue do I want this episode? And the answer was yes. But you can see here that we're building a sort of castle structure to help defend the island. The weird noises that the characters heard at the end of the last episode, and the deep fog that is surrounding the whole island, has given the characters a real sense of uneasiness, and so they're ramping up defences in preparation for what they fear could come. You can see I'm building up these walls and adding lots and lots of detail. I'm adding loads of supports around the edges of the walls and loads of crenellations along the top to give viewing angles from which they can shoot. I'm also adding these poles on top which are going to hold lights, which of course will have to be turned off after dark. But I do want to build something a little bit special on these walls. They already have places they can shoot from, but I want them to have something pretty big that they can fire. And so in this section here, I started building a square platform for a giant ballista. I added a few lights into the bottom and then got to work on the ballista itself. I built this diagonal cross shape and then fleshed it out a bit. And then I used some sort of trapdoors and slabs to build the frame. And then I used 2 friendly chickens to build these ropes. And those are what I used to fire it. I then used some stone slabs to build this giant shaft that can be fired down the causeway. And then I added some tough slabs to the end of the ballista as almost a massive arrowhead. But I wanted to add a few more details to this platform, including some fences, and then I also thought that it looked pretty cold up here, and they'd probably need some things to keep warm. And so I added in a few campfires, and I set about on weatherproofing this structure. I wanted to have sort of hanging sheets to catch all of the wind before it chilled the bones of those inside. And so I placed a ton of grey banners lining the fences in order to sort of act like sheeting. I also built up a little bit more structure around this area, and you can see the banners in there catching the wind as it ripples through. And then built up sort of a half wall. It's almost a bit of a rack. It's not really a full wall as you'd see in a building, more sort of ruins. But if you're willing to brave the cold, you've got this giant ballista that you can fire out from the island and onto the causeway. And I built up this area just a little bit more. It sort of reminds me of the wall from Game of Thrones. Yeah. And with a few more details, this was pretty much done. It's got loads of gaps and cracks, but it seems like it would be a little bit warmer in there. I then added a bunch of dripstone spikes on the edges and in the middle of the causeway, just as a sort of deterrent. If anything tries to run down there, it better be able to jump. Well, on second thought, I hope it can't jump.
I never believed in you, not once. But I've done wrong. Too much wrong. If you can hear me, if you're real, don't let it take us. Not tonight. I don't want to fall here.